Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Seguin Public Library. Slightly brisk morning, 55 degrees or so with some wind blowing, so you may hear a little wind noise on the microphone. We had some technical issues, so sorry for the 15-minute delay in the start, but we're still going to run through everything like we have. First time joining us, thank you very much. Coming back as a repeat offender, thank you very much. What you're going to see today is a form of Tai Chi that I've been practicing for 4 years, maybe 5 years, exposed to Tai Chi 7 or 8 years ago. It is a form designed with the input of a physical therapist and a Tai Chi master, designed primarily to work on balance and stability. As a physical therapist here in Seguin at Guadalupe Regional Medical Center, I work on the Inpatient Rehab Unit. I also dabble a little bit in outpatient setting and other inpatient settings. I also teach this form at the Wellness Center, but I've seen some great outcomes from individuals that have implemented and practiced this form. There's no perfection in doing the form. My students hear that there's always things that I'm working on to try to make myself feel like I'm practicing better. There are a lot of questions that they have that make me think about what I do and wonder if I can tweak my capabilities. I know I've got some feedback from my instructor, Patricia Culati, up in the Milwaukee area, who, when she saw my video, she said, "Hey, it looks good, but we got a lot of stuff to work on." I thought it was one of the best times I'd ever done it. So waiting to get some feedback from her if we can coordinate some things over this virtual distance that's been created by the COVID stuff. Typically, I would have a mask on here in the library, but I'm out here solo practicing, except for the videographer here running all the technology behind the scenes. So ideally, we would have had a couple people join us. Situations arose and didn't work out, but we're hoping that maybe, possibly, fingers crossed, in May, this third Saturday of the month class, maybe we can do some of it live, have a couple people here with us in person. Don't know if it'll be outside to adhere to the COVID requirements, or if we can go inside and maintain our social distancing and masks and all that stuff, but more to follow. So this is the best we can do right now. The Wellness Center at Guadalupe Regional Hospital, the Guadalupe Regional Wellness Center, has a video on their YouTube page. And if you go onto the Adult Education tab here with the library's website, they also have a link to one of my past practices. And then you've got this one too that you'll have an opportunity to look at. So welcome again. Appreciate the library allowing me to use this site to help the community. I appreciate my employer, Guadalupe Regional Medical Center, to allow me to come out here and do this as a kind of a community outreach, because in the long run it benefits individuals with their mobility and safe access to the community and throughout their home. What you'll see is, once I finish jabbering here in a couple minutes, I'm going to step back. I've got a camera, video screen over here where I can kind of see where I am, so I'm going to back up so you can see everything from my feet to the top of my head, because the position of the feet is just as important as the alignment of the body. You're going to see me, I'm going to go through some positions, just warm-ups. There's not a lot of spinal movement in Tai Chi in the form that we practice and teach, so you'll see a lot of stretching and just to open up the pathways for the blood vessels, the nerves, and all those. So it just helps to communicate from the brain to the body, from the body to the brain, to help with the balance and the stabilization. After I finish the warm-up activities, I'll come up out of a squat and you'll see me get into a position that's called horse stance. Horse stance will look like a position to where my feet are approximately hip width apart, toes are pointed straight forward for me, hands will be in this position with the head up, and then you'll see me start going through some repetition of movements. I do anywhere from 3 to 4, maybe 5 repetitions of each activity. The fundamentals are the building blocks of Tai Chi. You'll see these repeated motions of what I'll do with hands, arms, body. If you go onto YouTube and type in Tai Chi and just look at different forms, you'll find hundreds of them. But what you'll see are the building blocks. If you put those together in different sequences or series, you'll see some of that within the practice of Tai Chi. Those building blocks are used for the form that I then teach, to where you'll know I'm doing that, because instead of starting with my feet apart, I start with the heels together. I start and stop in this position. When I complete all of it, I'll do a bow at the end of the third form. Please try to practice along. If you have questions, my email address is bjackson@grmedcenter.com. I have access to emails because I do a little bit of marketing for the hospital. Feel free to send me an email. I'll respond as quick as I can. And also, I take the questions that I hear from students in my class and also those that I get by email, and I talk about them here. So I'm not just answering you, but it may be a question somebody else has, and they're just not wanting to ask. So feel free to send an email, bjackson@grmedcenter.com. I'll repeat that again at the end of this. Ask away. I forgot what I was going to say after that. No, I guess it wasn't important. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to step back. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Don't think you're going to be able to do this and automatically grasp it. It is frustrating at first because standing with the knees slightly flexed versus straight changes the entire use of the kinetic chain of the body from the feet to the shoulders to the head. So it's just learning the little techniques. It may look like you're doing the right thing and all of a sudden you step back or you stumble. That's okay. Practice, practice, practice. Teaching the warm-ups, it usually takes the first 3, 4, maybe 5 classes just to learn those so that you get the beneficial stance and posture with that. When it comes to teaching the fundamentals, I had a consistent class of about 16. It took that class approximately 5 weeks just to learn the fundamentals. While teaching the fundamentals, as we got close to the end of the fundamentals, I started adding in the beginning components of the form. That took another 5 to 6 months. So it may take up to a year of regular, consistent activity of practicing this form of Tai Chi just to get the basics. Practice, practice, practice is very important. If you're interested, send me an email, and I even have a sheet that's 4 exercises that are the Fab 4 of the homework. That's just learning some of the basic positions and getting the deep muscles in the hips prepared. So just try it. For those of you that may be using a walker or a cane or don't feel like you can stand a long time, I've learned how to teach this form with a walker, with you using a walker. I've learned how to teach it with you using a cane, holding on to a chair, and I've even learned how to teach these movements sitting in a chair. So we can work on some stuff and then progress to you standing. So what you'll see is I'm going to disappear, turn the music, start that over again, and then I'll step back to where I can see myself on the screen from head to feet, knowing that you'll see me from head to feet, and then I'll run through the warm-ups, the fundamentals, the form, and then I'll wander back up and see if you have any questions, please populate those into the Q&A section, or the question section, and then I'll address those at the end if anybody wants to chime in. All right, welcome again. I'll restart my music, and I'll step back, and away we go. fundamentals and the form that I've taught for a little over a year and a half now. At the library, it's maybe been a year with some skips because of wonderful COVID. Email address is bjackson@grmedcenter.com. Feel free to email me questions. If you're watching now and want to throw a question in, if there are any, I'll attempt to answer. If there aren't any, just because you don't want your question out there in the world, email me, and I will happily respond and then share your questions with others. I've had questions, when do I breathe? Do I breathe in and out when the arms go up or down? The important part is breathing. With the Tai Chi, it's a relaxed meditation, so our breathing is done diaphragmatically. So when you're breathing, you're not breathing in really deep and using the muscles around the shoulders, around the neck. When you breathe in, you're standing in line somewhere at your local grocery store, shopping center, and you see people under a little bit of stress when they breathe. Their shoulders are going up and down because they're so stressed, they're so uptight about things. Whereas with Tai Chi, we're working on diaphragmatic breathing. Singers that I have, or musicians that I've had in my class that play wind instruments, are really good at this because they learn to breathe with a diaphragm to get that deep breath and learn how to maintain a consistent pressure when they breathe. So diaphragmatic breathing, it looks like you're poking out your belly like Buddha when you breathe in. And then when you breathe out, everything goes back in as the diaphragm moves back up and helps to get the air out of the lungs. So I've been asked about that. There's different philosophies on it. Breathe in when your arms are going up. Breathe out when your arms are going down. Breathe out when you're reaching out with a leg. Breathe in when you're reaching back. The important part is to breathe. It's hard enough to learn the sequences and the motions and things to make you feel comfortable with the technique. But as long as you're breathing, I'm not going to worry about that. As you progress more and more into the practice, then you can learn how to synchronize your breathing with some things. But that's just an example of one of the questions, or how much weight goes in one foot versus the other. The traditional Tai Chi stance is what's called the 70-30, where 70% of the weight is on the back foot, 30% is on the front foot, which sounds good when you're standing there, but when you're performing a motion, bear walks with crane arms, and you're moving your body forward and backward, you're actually transitioning to 70% on the front leg, leaving 30 on the back, and then 70% to the back, 30 on the front. So there's no real specific answer to that unless we can have a little dialogue and understand when you're talking and at what point you're talking about. A lot of great questions when I'm teaching my students in the form about when do we transition and how do you step back and what's the alignment of the feet. And those are all the little details that makes the learning that much longer. But once you start to get it, you really feel the density and the strength forming in the deep pelvic muscles that helps you with your walking and your stabilization. So please email me if you don't want to ask a question to the group here. bjackson@grmedcenter.com. And by chance, do we have anybody that's thrown out any questions? Or 5 questions? 5 participants. Okay. Anybody willing? Anybody? I'm sorry? Excellent. Please do. Yeah, bjackson@grmedcenter.com. I go back to finish my work day today, but I can usually access that email pretty consistently, and I'm one of those overachievers that even accesses my work email at home. Occasionally, not often, but I will do that if I have to. So again, if there's no questions online, I hear there's a comment. Excited about this. I've wanted to learn this for a long time. I'll use a walker. Thank you. Yeah. I won't say your name, but reading that, this can be, there is a modification to some of the movements that we do. Obviously, you can tell that when I'm standing in this position, you can't let go of your arms and kick a leg out. But there is the modification to where you can do the one arm for the open, gathering the star. I mean, there's different ways to tweak that. So we can, work on the basics with the walker. Or holding on to the back of a chair so you have more room. It still gives you some of the similar stability as a walker. But yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. If you're using a walker and been through any kind of physical therapy, you've probably done some sit-to-stand exercises where you're in front of a chair and they teach you to push with your arms to stand up. The riding horse with crane arms is the motion that I did, to where I was kind of moving up and down. It's basically the same thing that a physical therapist probably taught you, which is a partial squat, to where you're standing with your walker and you're just bending the knees, keeping your feet flat on the ground and pushing back up. Same concept. You just don't have to let go with both hands to do that. You can do one hand or the other. Picture's a little changed up now because we got a little bit of sunlight between the clouds. But it's great that you're excited about this. We are hoping that here at the library, once the city government decides that it's okay to start opening things up and having some meetings more in groups, even if they don't lift the requirement for the face mask, there can be an opportunity. Where I'm standing out here to the right, there's a sidewalk and some grass on this side of it that's library property. We can possibly use that for some outside activities. Hopefully we can get back into our community room. That the first time I offered it here, I think we had 55 or 60 participants in there just learning the basics, and then it slowly dwindled down to about a consistent 18, maybe 20, and then COVID came. But feel free to bring a walker. I've had people sit in that class sitting in a chair just to learn some of the basic movements on how it is to not lean it back against the chair, but just start to get the trunk and core muscles working. So that's great. Thank you for sharing your excitement using the walker, and hopefully we can meet one day and I can give you some pointers on what to do just to try to tap into some of the basics or the building blocks of Tai Chi that can help with that walker mobility. Other comments, questions? All right. Well, again, thank you everyone who jumped in and watched a little bit. I'll say it again, bjackson, grmedcenter.com. It's my email address. Please feel free to email if you'd like to. We can correspond that way. Hopefully I'll see you in one of our community classes here. I'll again thank the library. If you haven't been to this setting, beautiful location. I'm out here on this patio. Last time I think we had a little more sunlight, a little more heat. I was standing back in where the shadow isn't last time, and I was hot on one side because of the sun, and the other side the light was reflecting off this 16 to 18 foot glass. So I was cooking out here. That may still be posted somewhere. But come and check it out. Thank you to the Guadalupe Regional Medical Center for allowing me to do this as a little bit of marketing. And finally, those of you that have been hearing the music in the background, I mentioned the name Pat or Patricia Culati as my instructor in the Milwaukee area. Actually, her instructor is in Taos, New Mexico now. She relocated to there. Trisha Yu. She's the one that composed and performed the music. So if that's something that you're interested in, please email me. I can give you their email addresses, their websites, and they have this kind of thing. They have books and CDs and all that kind of stuff if you're interested in purchasing for your own practice. But nothing is better than this one-to-one contact. So hopefully we can get away from this video stuff and get some one-to-one, because it's a lot easier to see somebody who is standing like this and to explain to them they need to stand like this in person just by touching right here, instead of trying to slay, through a video, tuck your tailbone. And so anyway, thank you again. Practice, ask questions, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in person eventually. Have a great day.